This video is brought to you by Squarespace. We'll get to that. But first, hello and welcome to Prague. Today's episode of Honest Guide will be all about trams because there's something special we have only in Prague that we want to share with you.
What is it?
It's a Porsche design tram. Sounds amazing, right? Yeah. Well, wait till you see it because it looks like the city ordered it from Wish. When this tram first arrived to Prague, it was a huge hit. Everybody was excited, we're getting a new tram, but then people started to ride it and realized it has many flaws. The first one you can hear, it's quite loud. The second one is that if there are people sitting here facing each other, it's almost impossible to pass by. Even if I sit all the way back and there would be a person sitting here, there's no way to walk through. Next thing is that there are these weird areas that says you can't be there, but why is it here though? And then there's like this weird spot where you stand here, which is actually a nice spot to be in, but then sometimes this squishes you, which is probably the reason you shouldn't stand there. But I don't know, the design inside is just weird. By the way, if you wonder what time it is on this tram, the designers were really clever and they hid it from you, so you don't know if you're delayed. Also, it's fair to say that it's a hot summer day and it really is hot in here. There's no air conditioning and you can only open the windows a little bit and there's no opening here nor there. Also, when boarding the tram, people quite often confuse the first door with door for people, but it's actually only for the driver. Yeah, the Porsche design is just not good. Well, but since you asked for it, here's another tram, and this one is nicknamed Duck. Let's get on it. This tram is nicknamed Duck because it actually kind of looks like a duck. And there's one specialty about it. You may be wondering why there's doors on both sides. Well, they only use one at a time, but the reason for that is that it's quite often used to also go the opposite direction when there's, for example, a construction and they can't turn around the tram. It simply just goes the other way. As you can see, we're just hopping off and on any tram we like because we have yearly passes and trams run in Prague everywhere and precisely on the minute. The one we're getting on is actually the newest tram we have in Prague, and as you can see by the yellow front, it means that it has air conditioning. We started with a hate on the Porsche design tram, but we want to show some love to the Prague trams because we absolutely love not only the network, but each specific car. And this one is the newest one. It's a Skoda, and it's quite good. It's spacious. It has comfortable places to sit and stand. And also, if you want to get a really cool view, you got the biggest window here. That being said, if you really want to discover a lot of Prague and get good sightseeing, use the trams. They run everywhere. As I've mentioned, we have yearly passes, so we can use the trams freely as we want, but you can actually too. You can buy a daily ticket for 110 crowns and use the trams as sightseeing, and hopping on and hopping off is really easy because they run all the time. And comparing that to the hop-on, hop-off buses that run in the city center for tourists that cost 25 euros, trams are a much better deal. So we highly suggest that. And if you want to know more, we actually made an episode about it. The link will be below the video so you can click it and discover it. Little fun fact detail, the trams not only have the line numbers, but also number of the wagon of the car. And on the Porsche trams, they were trying to use the 911 numbers. So sometimes you see a Porsche tram with 911 something. Since we have a minute waiting for the tram, let me explain to you how the schedule and the stand works. The numbers here are obviously the lines. These are regular daily lines. This is a historical line, and these are night lines. At the first peak, you can see where the tram will go, if it will go straight or left. So these two will go straight, these will go left. And then of course the schedule, which is more detailed, and it will obviously tell you to which stops the tram is going, also how many minutes it will take to get to that stop, and then times when it runs. Quite simple. But since we live in the 21st century and we all have smartphones, you can actually download an app called TJjYx and have all the schedules there. Or if you just use Google Maps for navigation, it will have the arrivals and departures there as well. And now for our all-time favorite, this is the T3 tram. All being said, this tram is still the coolest one running in Prague. It's the most spacious. You can easily stand anywhere you want, and you can open the roof, so there's always a fresh breeze running through the tram as it's going. And when we talk about our favorite tram, this is also our favorite spot to be on this tram, because you have a best view looking back, and you also have a view overlooking the entire tram. We're actually in the tram depot now, where they let us in because they like our show, and we would like to show you the original T3 tram with the original seats and original interior, because most of the ones you'll see around the city are sort of facelifted and adjusted. So let me just show you what it looks like inside. Even though it's now in the depot, this tram still runs and operates occasionally. You can see the original seats that are so comfortable, you have no idea. It's the coolest seats. The only way you could make this tram cooler was if there was a bar here. Huh. Did I say bar? It's right here. This is the newest one-of-a-kind addition to the Prague trams. It's the T3 Coupe, designed by our friend Anna Marešová, and believe it or not, we actually used it in one of our videos as a place to party and go through the streets of Prague for our meetup, and it was amazing. Yep, that's how cool our meetups are. We get our own tram and ride it around the city. So if you don't want to miss the next one, follow us on Instagram or Facebook. We are super lucky they let us film here in the tram depot. They will not let you, but they will let you into the museum, which is right next door and is amazing. So if you want an episode about it, let us know in the comments below if you want to see it, so we know we're on the right track. Anyhow, do you remember when I pointed out the historical line 41 when I was pointing? Well, it's operated by these trams. So if you see one going through the city, you can easily hop on, but you have to buy a separate ticket on board. It's 35 crowns to ride it, and it's absolutely worth it. And now for some interesting fun facts and statistics. This wagon is the most used tram in the world, with more than 14,000 made. They're in Pyongyang, in Kiev, in Moscow, all over Czech Republic, so they're very popular. When they go out, when they get old and the city sells them, you can actually buy one for around 4,000 euros. And I know a person who has it on his garden. In total, the city of Prague has more than 800 trams that operate on 25 lines, plus 9 night lines. They operate on more than 124 kilometers of tracks and transport, believe it or not, more than 370 million people per year only in Prague, which makes our tram network the third largest in the world, after Moscow and Budapest. I memorized all this. Before we close the episode, here are some very, very important rules of the Prague trams. First of all, the tram will not stop easily. It always has the right of the way. So if you're on a crosswalk, the tram has right of the way. It's huge. It cannot stop as easily as a car. So please either get on the tram or get out of the way. If you want to be on the tram, you have to have a ticket. Inspections are quite often, so make sure to buy a ticket and then validate it on the tram. Of course, feel free to sit on the tram, but number one rule in Prague is that if there's an elderly person or a pregnant woman, you always give up your seat for them. Also, if there's a parent with a baby, with a carriage, with a stroller, please always help them on the tram if it has steps. It's absolutely normal to do so, so please do it. As I mentioned in the beginning, this episode was brought to you by Squarespace, so thank you once again. And Squarespace is a platform where you can create your own beautiful websites. So if you want to start a blog about Prague trams and you want to sort them out and you want to take pictures and put them up on the internet, Squarespace is the way to go. And if you want to do so, a link below our video will give you a 10% discount. You don't need a sound effect for that. Thank you for watching. Thanks to the public transport of Prague for doing what they do for the city, for letting us film here. And mad respect to tram drivers. You have not an easy job. So thank you for taking us and carrying us every day to work for fun and everywhere. Hope you will come to Prague and ride any of these trams. I hope to see you on the tram. And I'll see you next week on another episode of The Honest Guide, which is the duo of Honza and Yannick. Ahoj. And a Czech word at the end is koleje, tracks. Koleje, tracks. Also, student dormitory is koleje.